Take everyone's clothes away, the whole species, all at once, forever. Here's what you'd expect to happen. The world gets freer. It gets more equal. Because you can't flash your money if you're standing there with nothing on. And it gets a lot more sexual, obviously, with everybody naked all the time. 3 safe bets. And you'd be wrong on every single one of them. A world without clothes wouldn't be freer or fairer or more erotic. It would flip into the exact opposite of all 3. And the reason why points at something we've quietly misunderstood about clothes for our entire history. Because whatever they're for, it was never really about staying warm. Start with the part we always forget. Clothing is new. We lost our fur something like 1 million years ago and walked around bare for most of the time since. Clothes rot, so there's no ancient wardrobe to dig up. Which means our best clue comes from an unlikely source: body lice. They can only live in clothing, so by tracking when they split off from head lice, researchers date the invention of clothes to somewhere around 170,000 years ago. So, for the overwhelming majority of our existence as a smooth-skinned animal, we wore nothing. Clothes aren't natural to us. They're a piece of technology we built. And the honest question about any technology is what job it's actually doing. Let's take the sex one first, because it's the one everybody's most sure about. The logic seems airtight. If bodies were on display every hour of every day, we'd be walking around permanently switched on. Now go and ask anyone who's spent real time in a nudist community what actually happens. They'll tell you the opposite. Within a day or two, the nakedness stops landing. It turns into wallpaper. People describe these places as the least sexually charged environments they've ever been in. And the research backs them up. Routine social nudity reads as flatly non-sexual, and the people who practice it tend to feel calmer about their bodies, not more worked up. There's a mechanism underneath that, and it's worth knowing. Your desire doesn't actually run on the body. It runs on novelty. Show someone the same image over and over, and the response drops off a cliff. Show them a new one, and it spikes straight back up. It's been measured in the lab. Men shown the same clip across several days lose interest, then react instantly the moment a new face appears. That's ancient mammal wiring, and it's ruinous for our naked paradise, because constant availability is the single fastest way to kill a response. The most reliable trick for making something feel exciting is to cover it up and then reveal it, which is the entire job of clothing. A covered body isn't less sexual than a bare one. It's more, because it keeps the reveal permanently held in reserve. Take that away, and you don't unleash desire. You wear it out. Clothes didn't put a lid on our sexuality. In a weird way, they're what created it. So that's promise 1 gone. Here's promise 2, and this one feels even more solid: equality. So much of how we size each other up is stitched right into what we wear. The logo, the watch, the cut of a jacket that quietly tells you someone's salary. Strip all that off and surely the whole ranking system falls apart. No labels, no signals, everyone finally standing on level ground. Except the signals don't vanish, they just move. What you're wearing is what anthropologists call a costly signal. You burn time and money to advertise something about yourself that a stranger can read in a second. But the body is a signal too, and a far more honest one, because you can't fake it as easily. Strip everyone in a room bare, and you haven't deleted the hierarchy. You've deleted the one layer people had some control over, and left everybody being judged on the layer they don't. Age, health, old injuries, the difference between a life that was hard on the body and one that was gentle, written straight into the skin. A cheap coat can hide an enormous amount. Bare skin hides nothing. So the naked world isn't the great leveler at all. It's a harsher sorting than the one we've already got, because clothing, for all its snobbery, at least hands you a way to opt out of the parts of yourself you didn't choose. Fashion is a game, and games can be played and cheated and won. Biology mostly can't. You wouldn't be abolishing the hierarchy. You'd be trading a hierarchy of wealth, which you can sometimes climb, for a hierarchy of bodies, which mostly you're just stuck inside. Which leaves the last promise, and it's the deepest one. The belief that without clothes, we'd finally be honest with each other. No costumes, no personas, nothing to hide behind. Just people, seeing people as they really are. And there's something real in that. A lot of what we feel about being naked isn't wired in, it's taught. There have been whole cultures, and there still are some, where full nudity carried no shame whatsoever, where the entire machinery of embarrassment we take for granted simply never got built. So the shame could genuinely fade. That part is learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. But look closely at what you'd be throwing out with it. Clothing isn't only a mask that hides the real you. It's also the costume that lets you be anybody in the first place. When you get dressed in the morning, you're choosing who to be that day. The uniform, the armor, the deliberately scruffy thing. The outfit that says, "Please take me seriously." That isn't lying. That's the basic equipment for walking through a world full of strangers. It lets you offer a self on purpose instead of just leaking one by accident. Take it away, and you don't get a room full of people finally being real with each other. You get a room full of people with nowhere to put the parts of themselves they weren't ready to show yet. More exposed, absolutely. But exposure and honesty aren't the same thing. One of them you choose. The other one just happens to you. Now, one honest caveat, because this is a thought experiment, and it's only worth anything if we're straight about that. Nobody's run this. You can't take a whole civilization, delete its clothing, and check the results. So everything here is us reasoning out from the pieces we can measure. The arousal studies, the nudist research, the signaling, the cultures that never learned to be ashamed. Treat the confident version, the "here's exactly how society would fall apart" version, with suspicion. This isn't a prophecy. But the direction all three arrows point is real, and it's consistent. And that's the part that should bother you. Because line them up. Less desire, not more. Sharper inequality, not less. More exposure, but not an ounce more truth. Every instinct we started with turns over and lands upside down. And once all three flip the same way, the thing underneath them finally shows itself. Clothing was never really about the body. It's a tool for managing information about ourselves. It rations desire by controlling the reveal. It softens status by covering the raw material. It lets us choose the self we hand to the world instead of broadcasting all of it, all the time, to everyone. It's a dial. And the whole reason a dial is worth having is that you get to turn it. Take clothing away, and not one of those forces actually leaves. The wanting, the ranking, the raw fact of being looked at. None of it switches off. It just loses the thing that used to spread it out and keep it manageable, and it all drops back down onto the only place left to carry it. Your body. Which now has to do the entire job at once, with no way left to turn the volume down. That's the real twist in the naked utopia. We picture it as lightness, a weight finally lifted, some freedom handed back that we lost along the way. It's the reverse. The freedom you're imagining is a load. Clothing was never the cage. It was the thing that made the cage livable. And the reason almost every human society that has ever existed reached out and invented some version of it, completely independently, isn't cold, and it isn't modesty, and it isn't shame. It's that over 100,000 years ago, we stumbled onto a dial for the most exhausting part of being a person, being seen. And once you've held that dial in your hand, almost nobody, given the honest choice, has ever wanted to give it back.